Here to have again Professor Stephen Porges here with us. Thank you very much.
And you notice my new title. My wife is Sue Carter, who developed the finding about oxytocin. She's the one that discovered the relationship between social behavior and oxytocin. Well, she decided to take a new job. She became the director of the Kinsey Institute at Indiana University. And so she went there and she said, I won't go there unless you come with me. And just like the Wizard of Oz, I said, I can't go there unless I have a title. And so they gave me a title. I'm called Distinguished University Scientist, and I'm creating a trauma research center at the Kinsey Institute, where we'll be looking at the effects primarily of sexual violence, but also other forms of abuse on physical, mental health, and human sexuality. But we're also looking at the effects of medical treatments on mental and social behavior. So what I want, before I even start talking, I want to say that what we're going to be looking at is the fact that many people have surgeries, and those surgeries are stimulating the same organs that are affected during sexual violence. And our brain often doesn't know the difference. And so that's part of what the polyvagal theory informs us about, and that is the reaction of our body. So first of all, I'm extraordinarily pleased to be back here in Rome. This is my third trip here in 2 years. I'm very pleased and very flattered. And I'm also, let me use the term, humbled by the welcoming of polyvagal theory in Italy. It makes me feel very, let's use the term, validated. It is my life's work. And this part of my career, the work is really about how do you communicate ideas, how do you inform the clinical world about what we know about human neurobiology and the rules that our neurobiology play with and how that affects clinical practice. So the story that I'll be telling today is really the core story of what it is to be a mammal. And it gets more evolved as we are humans and humans are mammals. But what we often forget is that being a human, we have a biological imperative. And that biological imperative is to connect with another person or other people. And I often use the term to connect with an appropriate mammal, because some people connect very well with their dogs and cats. And so we have to be very respectful and appreciative of those interactions. But to begin with, we have to understand what a biological imperative is. We have grown up in a world which is dominated with a political and a religious view that our biological imperatives tend to be the strongest survive. So it's survival of the fittest being defined by aggressive behavior. And what we want to propagate is that that is not the way of survival. That is not our biological imperative. Our biological imperative is to survive through cooperation. And I quote, this is Theodore Dobzhinsky, who was an evolutionary biologist. And what he said is the fittest may also be the gentlest, because survival often requires mutual help and cooperation. And I want you to think about this, and I want you to think about the disruptions in this ability and what the consequences are. Because those of you who work with trauma or disrupted development are really dealing with individuals whose nervous system cannot fulfill its biological imperative. The nervous system cannot connect because the nervous system is in a state of constant threat, and your body is in states of defense. So connectedness is the body's need to engage and to bond. And I want to move this to the top of our list of what we want to do in our lives. So we heard talks about emotion, we heard talks about love. Love, trust, and the ability to bond are really the pinnacle, the top point of what it is to be a human. And I will say that it happens to be the top point of other mammals, many other mammals. And if you own or have, I'm not allowed to use the word own now, if you are a caregiver of a dog, you understand that is also the dog's agenda is to bond. We can look at pictures, and from these pictures we can get a sense of how connectedness enables us to regulate our physiological state. So the underlying theme here is that connectedness also allows our body to be in states in which it can be helpful to ourselves, helpful to the other. So it can be in a state that supports health, growth, and restoration. So our body is functionally using another body to regulate physiological state that enables us to grow and to heal and to restore. And when you look at a picture of a baby and a mother, you get that sense. Now I'm going to juxtapose this to Alan's talk this morning, where he was talking about an active love and a passive love. And we'll redefine that further in the talk, but you can see that being in this immobile state without fear has tremendous benefits to the organism. And we're going to look at some more pictures to get a sense of our own visceral responses to when we look at pictures like this one. So if we look at seals,